You're listening to Saturday Morning Media. And now, back to our show. Here we go.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Grantcast. It is a pleasure to have you here today. Shout out to everybody listening, and a big shout out to all of the Saturday Morning Media Patreon patrons who help make this show possible. If you would like to become a patron, stay tuned at the end of the show, and I will tell you how to do it. Well, it has been quite some time since I posted a Grantcast. I think at the beginning of the year, I was saying I'm going to do one every other week. And guess what? That didn't happen. And now here we are. I'm recording this on December 13th, 2023. So you'll probably, I know you will be hearing it later. But that's when I'm recording this. And yeah, just been busy with stuff. Sorry to neglect the Grantcast. It is never my want to neglect the Grantcast, yet here we are. So I'm glad I could sneak at least one more in before the end of the year. Maybe I will try to do two. But things have been going well. Do you have this happen at the end of the year? You're kind of like, okay, I just got to do this thing. And once I get past this thing, then it'll free everything up and I'll have more time to do things because it's the end of the year and I'll have more time to do things. So for me, that was kind of like Puppet Up. I was cast to do 5 Puppet Up shows for the Jim Henson Company at the Jim Henson Company lot. And I did those 5 shows. And then unfortunately, some people who were cast in the second weekend of shows got COVID. They got the old COVID bug. And so they asked me to fill in for another 5 shows. So I thought I just had to do one weekend of shows. And I thought like that weekend was my, once this is over, I'll be free and I can work on all this other stuff I want to work on. So I did a whole nother second week of shows. It was absolutely fantastic. Did 10 shows total. It really is my favorite thing to do. It really is my favorite thing to do. And I don't want to get too much into this. I had a rough summer, just a rough summer sort of like mentally, and just spent a lot of time kind of angry and grouchy about things. And not angry where it's like I'm punching a hole in the wall. It's all like internal. It's just like this internal anger about things. And it was just things in professional career and professional things to work and relating with other people and hanging out. And about 2 weeks ago, I really just was like, I don't want to be this person. I don't want to be this person. I don't want to be angry all the time. I feel I've spent from like, I don't know, like the middle of July through to 2 weeks ago was like end of November. It was right before Thanksgiving. I just feel like I have spent this time angry and I don't want to be angry. And so I just kind of made this switch in my head. And so far, so good. So far, so good. I have not been that angry as I have been in previous things. And again, this is not anger where I'm going to throw things or do anything like that. It's all internal, but it is kind of anger that's like, especially at my age, 49 years old, that's like, yeah, this is how you get a heart attack. You know what I mean? I've been trying to be better. I've been researching the 4 agreements, which I think I talked about before on here, but trying to focus on those things. During the SAG-AFTRA strike, I would meet up with Russ Walco every Wednesday, sometimes Eric Kuska as well. And we would walk, we would do the strike, the protest around Walt Disney Studios. And we would get there about like 9:15, and then we would leave like a little bit before noon. But if you walk around Walt Disney Studios in Burbank all the way around, it's 1 mile. And so we would walk around. It depended on how many people were out there protesting, but we would walk usually around 5-6 laps, so we did 5 or 6 miles. So when the strike ended, Russ and I were like, we got to keep doing this. So we have been doing this every Wednesday. Russ and I will go out. We will walk 6 miles. I joked that we should just keep walking around Disney, to keep that up. But the problem is there are sidewalks on like 3 sides of Disney, but on the 4th side, there's just like dirt, like this little like dirt embankment. There's no sidewalk. And during the strike, they had like these kind of traffic cones set up that would create sort of a sidewalk, and help, keep anybody from getting hit. But now that the strike's over, they don't have those up anymore. So we don't walk there, but we have a new path, and we've done it, I think, 3 times. And it turns out to be just about 5 miles when we go this path. And when we get to the point where we turn around, we always joke that that's where we start talking about lunch and what we're going to have for lunch after we finish this walk. So I've been doing that. That has been helping a lot too, getting out more, doing more exercise. I've been doing intermittent fasting and have lost some weight. So I'm very happy about that. I don't want to get too much into that. I got to get back to talking about what I was going to talk about. So I had that weekend of Puppet Up shows, and I thought once this weekend is over, I'll have time to do things. Then I had a second weekend of Puppet Up shows that just ended this past weekend, and I was like, once that's over, I'll have time to do everything. And then I had forgotten that I am on call for jury duty this week. And the way it works I don't know if this is all of California, but the way it works in Los Angeles is they give you a date, and starting at 7 p.m. on that date, you have to either go to the website or call a phone number, and they will tell you whether you have to report to the courthouse the next day. So it starts Friday night at 7. They will tell you if you have to report Monday. And then, Monday night at 7, Tuesday. And you have to call in for a whole week. You have to call in for 5 days to see if you were going to go in. So right now when I'm recording this, it's Wednesday, and it's about 5 o'clock. So I have not yet checked for days. Sometimes they do update it early, but so far I have not been called into the court. And I'm kind of hoping that like no new trials are going to start this late in the year when like the courts will be closed for Christmas and New Year's and all that kind of stuff. But who knows what's going to happen. Also, tomorrow, Thursday, is the Jim Henson Company's holiday luncheon. So I would like to go to that, but who knows if I will find out in 2 hours from now whether or not, maybe at the very end of this recording, I will check live. And so you will hear live if I have to go. So anyway, I was going to do things after Puppet Up. I got a second weekend of Puppet Up. I was going to do things after that. Now I'm on call for jury duty, so I can still do things. And I haven't had to go in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but you kind of can't plan things for the week. So it's like, I want to go do this, so I'm going to plan it for Thursday. I'm going to plan it for Friday. I can't because I may have to go downtown to the court. So, but I'm doing my duty. And I will also say that there have been 2 times where I have been called for jury duty where I had to go, and I was sitting in the juror box, and they ask me what I do, and I say that I work in entertainment, and they say, what specifically in entertainment? It's the same way both times, so I'm always going to do this. They go, what specifically in entertainment? And I go, I'm a puppeteer. And they immediately say, we'd like to excuse juror number 5 or whatever number I am. So that's what I'm going to go with every time I do it. When I was a kid, many, many Saturday nights I would spend at Auntie Dorothy and Noni's. Noni was my great-grandmother. Auntie Dorothy is my great-aunt. I think I've talked about this before. Auntie Dorothy is still with us. Noni passed on several years ago. But anyway, I would spend the night there. And around this time of year, November, December, when I would spend the night there, this magical thing appeared in the garage of their house. It's a very nice house in San Francisco. Every time around this year, this thing would appear in the garage. And there were shelves, and my great-grandfather had sort of a little makeshift workshop down below, and it was kind of this neat under-house garage. Definitely very old-timey from when, this house was built. And this thing that would appear would be a table with a bed sheet over it. And this table with a bed sheet, later on the table was there all year with the bed sheet over it. But this table with this bed sheet was a magical thing. Now, what would happen is around this time of year, what was underneath the bed sheet on this table would start changing shape. I'll say there's nothing alive underneath the bed sheet, but there is just a table, and there's this bed sheet draped over it. But you could tell things were being added underneath the bed sheet, right? And you couldn't see through the bed sheet, but you could just tell that boxes or packages or things were being added, and the shape would change every time you saw it, per trip. And what this was where the Christmas presents were kept. And so I just have a super strong memory of when we would pull into the garage, when they would open the garage to go in there, you would get a warning. Do not look under the sheet. And that was a very strict warning. You were not to look under the sheet. But underneath that sheet held a world of enchantment. Do you understand what I'm saying? It was like in my little kid head, it was, what is under there? There's got to be things for me, or else why would they tell me not to look? What could it be? And I would try to guess by the shapes of things. But the thing is, my great aunt would put everybody's gifts under there. So it wasn't just gifts for me. It was gifts for the entire family, which is, my mom and dad, myself, my brother. My dad has 2 sisters. They have kids. They have, husbands and all that kind of stuff. So it was gifts for the whole family. But to my mind, it captured my imagination, and I was just like, what is under there? Now, I will say, maybe I peeked once or twice. Maybe I lifted the sheet to see things. Now, my aunt was also pretty good about she would put a bunch of things in a box, close up the box, and then that box would be under the sheet, right? You know what I'm saying? It'd be a cardboard box and there would be things inside the box. So I don't have any specific memory of seeing some gift that I would later get that was underneath that box, underneath that sheet. But I just remember, A, the mystery of that sheet, and B, trying to find any legitimate excuse to go down into the basement to get something out of the freezer, or does anybody need anything from down in the laundry area? Does anybody listening for any, we need to bring, a lot of times what would happen is we'd go out for dinner, and if other members of the family were there were chairs downstairs. So you had to bring the extra chairs upstairs, and they would put a leaf in the table. So I would always volunteer to go downstairs and get the extra chairs and bring them up, because I could gaze across the garage at that sheet, that mysterious, wonderful sheet. And then, as I said, my great aunt started keeping the sheet up all year. So it wasn't just a thing where when the sheet appeared, you would know that presents appeared. There was always a sheet. It was always covering things. And just was thinking about that recently, of the magic of, it's a table in a garage with some boxes on it, with a sheet over it. But as a kid, that was a magical thing. Selfish, because you knew that there were gifts in there for you and you wanted those gifts, but the wonder of it and the mystery of it, just absolutely something I still to this day remember the feeling of looking for that sheet, maybe peeking underneath it. Again, I don't have any recollection of seeing anything, but it's just a fun memory from as a kid. Now, the family has sold the house. That house is not in our family anymore. When I say the family, I don't mean me. I just mean that house is now sold. So even if I wanted to go and back into the garage and see where that was, I couldn't. But it was a pretty magical place. So as I say that, in case this is the final Grantcast of the year, or at least before Christmas, I want to wish you all a happy holidays, whatever you celebrate. I celebrate Christmas, so I will say Merry Christmas. But of course, happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever holiday you like to partake in, or perhaps you don't like to partake in a holiday. I hope you have a happy, magical season, because there is something pretty special about the holiday season, and something that I really like. And I'm happy to be here talking to you about it and about those memories. That's going to do it for this time. Thank you so much for listening. I will talk to you soon. Goodbye, everybody. This episode of the Grantcast was edited by Stephen Staver, who probably did the artwork as well. This episode was made possible by the Saturday Morning Media Patreon patrons who've gone to patreon.com/Saturday Morning Media and set up a pledge for as little as $1 a month. Big shout out to all of our patrons, and a special shout out to our patron producers, Eve Cunning, Kathy Crawford, Tony Urbano, Brandy, David Akers, Paul, Scott Armstrong, Vicky Sebring, and Ricky Chavez. Thank you so much for your support. Patrons at the behind-the-scenes level and above get access to a video recording of this show. If you'd like to become a patron and receive the episodes of the Grantcast before they are released, visit patreon.com/Saturday Morning Media today and set up your monthly pledge. And thank you again for your support. This episode of the Grantcast is copyright 2023 Saturday Morning Media, Grant Baciocco, executive producer, all rights reserved. www.saturdaymorningmedia.com.
You've been listening to Saturday Morning Media. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.